All right, court is in session. Because today we're putting one of our most fundamental beliefs on the stand. The defendant, free will. And the charge, that it's nothing more than a grand, elaborate illusion. The stakes? Well, they're everything. Our sense of self, our ideas of right and wrong, our very place in the cosmos. Let the proceedings begin.
So, let me just ask you, straight up. That choice you just made to watch this, or the coffee you drank this morning, the job you have, were those choices really, truly yours? Or was it all just a long, predictable chain of dominoes, stretching all the way back to the Big Bang? That's the question we're wrestling with today.
You know, to really wrap our heads around this, let's think about a movie. Remember The Truman Show? You've got this guy, Truman Burbank, just living his life, feeling free, making what he thinks are his own decisions, all while he's the unknowing star of a TV show where every single thing is controlled. His story, it's the perfect metaphor for this whole messy debate.
Truman's Dilemma perfectly captures this battle between two huge schools of thought in psychology. On one side, you've got behaviorism. This camp says Truman, and by extension all of us, are just a product of our environment. That fear of water he had, not his choice, it was conditioned into him. In this view, the world is the puppeteer. But then on the other side, you have humanism. This view says, no way. It believes Truman had an inner fire, a deep-seated need to be free, and that personal agency is what allowed him to finally see the cracks in his world and decide to escape. In this view, he's the one who grabs the strings.
Okay, back to the courtroom. The prosecution rises, and they represent a worldview that says everything is predetermined. They're not coming with philosophy books. They're coming with cold, hard data, straight from inside the human brain.
The prosecution presents Exhibit A, the infamous Libet experiment. Here's how it went down. Scientists hooked people up to brain scanners and said, just flick your wrist whenever you get the urge. The only catch is, you have to tell us the exact moment you felt that urge. What they discovered was, frankly, staggering. The brain activity for the movement, this readiness potential, started building a full 1.5 seconds before the action. But here's the bombshell. The brain had already committed to the decision a full half second before the person was consciously aware of even wanting to move.
Let that sink in for a second. Half a second. In the world of neurons, that is an eternity. For the prosecution, this is the smoking gun. It suggests that your conscious choice is really just you playing catch-up, becoming aware of a decision your unconscious brain already made for you. Your sense of free will, it's just a story you tell yourself after the fact.
And this idea isn't just about what's inside our skulls. If you zoom all the way out, physicists like Sean Carroll will tell you the universe is just a giant machine running on physical laws. It's all cause and effect, random chance, evolution. There's no grand purpose. So in a universe like that, where everything is just atoms bouncing around according to rules, where exactly is the room for a you to step outside that chain of events and make a truly free choice? The prosecution rests its case.
But just when the case against free will seems totally shut, the defense rises to its feet. And their argument is that the prosecution hasn't just misinterpreted the evidence, they've fundamentally misunderstood what it means to be human.
The defense goes right back to that Libet experiment and points out a crucial detail, something Libet himself talked about. They call it free won't. The idea is, okay, maybe your brain unconsciously gets an urge going, but your conscious mind still has this little window of time, about 200 milliseconds, to step in and hit the brakes, to veto the action. So maybe our freedom isn't about the power to start an action, but the power to say no.
Then, the defense calls its star witness, existentialist philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre. And he completely flips the script. He says that a universe without a purpose doesn't get rid of our freedom. It makes it absolute. If there's no divine plan, no pre-written destiny, then we are completely, and maybe even terrifyingly, responsible for creating our own meaning. As he famously said, we are condemned to be free.
And this isn't just some abstract idea, it's a kind of roadmap. The defense argues this is the human condition. First, you have to confront what they call the absurd. That weird feeling when you're looking for meaning and the universe just gives you silence. Then, you use your freedom to choose your own values anyway. And finally, you work on becoming the person you have the potential to be, what humanists call self-actualization. In this view, freedom has nothing to do with physics. It has everything to do with psychological growth.
Now, you might be sitting there thinking, okay, this is a fascinating mental workout, but does it really matter? And the answer is a resounding yes. What you decide to believe in this trial has huge, real-world consequences for how people actually behave.
Get this.
A study in 2008 split people into two groups. One group read a scientific article arguing that free will is an illusion. The other group read something neutral. Then, they put both groups in a situation where they could easily cheat on a test. The results were, well, they were stark. The group that was told they had no free will, they were way more likely to cheat.
So why would that happen? It seems that when you undermine someone's belief in their own agency, their sense of personal responsibility goes right along with it. It becomes a kind of get-out-of-jail-free card. Hey, it wasn't my fault, my brain was predetermined to do it. Sartre called this bad faith, basically running away from the responsibility that comes with your freedom. It suggests that believing in free will, whether it's technically real or not, might be a crucial piece of the puzzle for a moral society.
So the prosecution has presented its evidence. The defense has made its case. But as we get to the end of this trial, it's pretty clear the verdict isn't going to be a simple guilty or not guilty. We're left staring at a profound and powerful paradox.
On the one hand, science gives us a picture of the universe that's like a giant clock, just cause and effect, atoms and energy, all following predictable laws. And yet, on the other hand, there's our own undeniable inner experience. We feel free. We are creatures who are desperate for meaning. We create it everywhere we look.
And maybe that's where the two sides meet. Maybe meaning isn't something we're supposed to find out there in the stars, like some law of physics. Maybe it's something we are supposed to build, a uniquely human creation in response to a silent universe.
Ultimately, as the philosopher Thomas Nagel pointed out, maybe we all just need a little intellectual humility. The thought that we right now have the perfect tools to solve a mystery as deep as consciousness and free will, maybe that's the greatest illusion of all. The truth might just be way beyond what we can even imagine right now.
And so the trial ends, not with a verdict from me, but with a question for the jury, for you. The evidence is all on the table. You have the scientific view of a determined universe, and you have the powerful human insistence on our freedom to create our own purpose. In a universe that offers no easy answers, maybe the only real freedom we have is the power to choose the story we live by. So, what story will you choose to tell?